right, so it's recording. Okay, awesome. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for listening. So things are a little bit different today. We have David over there from the UK today. Hi, David.
How you doing?
We also have Josue here. So for anybody who's listening right now, Andrea is not here today because it was a little too early. I think it's 11 o'clock over there for you, David, right? Yeah, so it's 11 o'clock over there where David is right now. So, David, you look like you're ready for the ghost stories.
Yeah, it's ghostly. Yeah, ghostly time. It's not quite witchy now yet, but yeah.
Yeah, so I'm super excited. I'm super excited to hear about, because you said you did a lot of ghost hunting, but also you have a lot of history with like mediumship as well too.
Yeah, and exorcisms too, because that's most of my ghost stories are real life ones, from exorcisms and places I've worked in the past. So yeah, I do. I do have like books of ghost stories, British ghost stories about Pendle Hill and things like that. But I'd lent them to a friend. She's swatting up on witch stories, so so yeah, they'll all be real life ones.
Wow, okay. I'm really excited to hear your stories. I didn't realize any story you're willing to share today. I'm
Uh,
super excited to hear.
well, I mean, the main places we have here. I did live in Manchester for a year. That's Manchester here, the original Manchester, and that was on the site of an old Roman temple. And they built a church on top, but it got bombed during World War II. So the only thing that's left of that now, they call it St. John's. It's just a tiny little park now. We just made it into a park. But you've got all the stone slabs and things and gravestones have used them to kind of line around the edges and things. So it's just where people go, like to sit and have the dinner, or if it's sunny, they'll sit out and have a picnic. So that was one of the weirdest ones, because when I looked into it after what I'd seen, I found out that whole area of Manchester, they call it Castlefield, because it's where the original Roman fortress was, like 2,000 years ago, whenever it was. And then I'd also worked in York, which is even way more haunted. York's a walled city. Oh, it still is. And the Romans were there as well. And there's still, under the streets, there's still lots of sewers, there's baths, there's all kinds of stuff that's still under there. And they'd always have the burial grounds at the edge of town. So Romans were like, they'd worship Mithra, Adonis, and all different gods. This is before Christianity came along, and they put it all into one.
Right.
So I think the best stories are probably from York, but I've got one or two from Edinburgh as well, which is it just seemed to keep getting drawn to these old places, that are just like full of hauntings, full of ghosts. Edinburgh, you've got Burke and Hare as well, that would go out stealing cadavers, stealing bodies to sell, and they were just ended up kind of making bodies to sell. so yeah, there's all kinds of history there. Favorite story? Well, a lot of my favorite ones came from working in York. And I used to, in those days, going back to maybe 2005, 2004, something like that, I used to manage shops, like luxury shops, jewelers that sell jewellery, watches, and all that kind of stuff. So we had this old shop in York, which was right near the Minster. It's like a big cathedral. It's the old part of York, just down the street from where Guy Fawkes was born. Guy Fawkes, the gunpowder plot man. And it's an old Tudor building, like 1200s, something like that, or whatever it is, that kind of period. And on 3 floors. Well, working in there, being through the daytime, being so, kind of doing the shop work and doing the sales and all that kind of stuff. And in my spare time, I was already doing weird stuff, exorcisms and mediumship and tarot card readings and all kinds of stuff down the years. So I remember the trouble started one day. I think at the front of the shop, they used to have like a big brass plaque on the front that you'd have to go and polish every day, and to look nice for the tourists and so on. You'd get a lot of Americans coming to York as well, a lot of them. So yeah, you had to have it all looking spick and span. And I first noticed there was a problem because when I went down in the morning, there was nobody about on the street, really little narrow street. And I'd always get like something out the corner of my eye. I'd always see like a shadow kind of flitting across sometimes, and I'd be like, "Yeah, I know this stuff about here," but then one day it was just like came round and literally almost smacked me on the back of the head, and I like fell into the grill in the window and just like put my hands out. And, like, well, I looked round. I thought like somebody got past on a bike or somebody kind of like knocked me, and there was nobody there. So I was like, "That's all right." I thought nothing of it, and then as I'd only been working in that place, I think a few weeks, used to go upstairs and like make a cup of tea and kind of get have a little break. And the upstairs there was like a little tiny little kitchen, which had like opening doors. And I remember being like making a brew one day, and the thing that really kind of started it off was from where I was to say, I don't know, it must have been about 5 foot away. They have the bins, the stand-up bins, like with a swing top. Well, that just flew across at me and nearly hit me. I was like, okay, so you want to play? um, and again, I looked around and thought, there's nobody there. Because I was thinking, like, the lady I work with, she's like playing a joke on me, or kind of, somebody's come up behind me and gone, whoa. But no. So I picked the thing up, I put it back, finished making the tea, and I just said out loud to her, I said, if you want to play those games, I'm going to move you out of here. I'm going to get you out of here. It didn't like that. As any good exorcist will tell you, you've got to challenge it out loud. You've got to call it out. This kind of stuff don't bother me. I would just like call it out. I just went, okay, right. That means I'm going to have to come back tomorrow or another day of that and prepare and hoist you out of here. So yeah, it was a case of having to plan it, go back, and it was a strange looking one as well. It was like a male figure, quite a nasty piece of work. I don't know what era it was from though. It just seemed like he was, whether he was stuck in the building or attached to it somehow. I don't know. I got the feeling he would kind of like float in and out, looking for somebody to make mischief upon, or somebody to have a go on, or somebody to slap around the head, and So yeah, I got shot with him. Excuse me, and he didn't come back to that particular shop. So.
Wow. So this is like still a place that people can visit, and a lot of tourists visit specifically.
Yeah, that's that area is like what they call Low Petergate. Petergate runs in York. York Minster is a beautiful building. It's nowhere near as grand as Notre Dame, Paris or anything, but it's still big. It's still an amazing structure. And yeah, the streets that run around there. As I lived in York as well for a year or two, and I know York like the back of my hand. Around there, around the area, it's just like exceptionally ancient. There's like, I bet if you dug down and you went down, you'd just find all kinds of things. It's an ancient settlement that was, Roman, pre-Roman Vikings were there. Everybody, it used to be the capital of England before London did York. So it's just full of it. Yeah, full of it.
That's really interesting. I mean, what do you think, Josue? Anything?
Nah, I mean, it's pretty crazy, like the experiences that you had, especially with the bin, like the talk
Yeah,
with the bin.
yeah. I mean, that was one where that was a quite an easy one to deal with in the end. I think the only one I could tell you about, actually, I'll go back to Leeds now, which is Leeds is where I live. There's two cities together, Bradford and Leeds. They're like twin cities, but it's a big area with lots of towns attached to it. And after London, it's the second most populated area in the whole of Britain. So I used to work in Leeds, and I can't remember what year this was. It would have been about 2005 or six, yeah, so a couple of years later. And I was working in Leeds, and I had friends that lived in Leeds. I used to commute from Bradford every day, backwards and forwards. And they didn't tell me that their house they lived in that they shared was haunted, or that they had issues, they had problems, they had stuff going on. So we'd been out for a night out. We'd all had a few drinks and a dance and so on, and they said, "Oh, you can come back to our house, and we'll chill out. We'll have we'll party on for a little bit." It was fairly late. We all went back there. Me and a few other friends, and hadn't been told that they had these issues. And I was sat there, kind of like, chilling out. I sat in the chair and just, kind of relaxing. And I could sense there's something not right. Or there was something in there. It was like a bit like, but when you've had a few drinks, you don't always, you just kind of think, I wasn't even looking for that. And I just felt, it was my left hand. I just felt at one point, I just kind of like almost snoozing off at one point, and something just hit my hand. Like I was like, oh, really hard. The palm of my hand, like center of the hand there. I just looked down at it and I thought, oh, what have I done? And I looked at my hand, and there was on the palm of my hand there was a black square that appeared like in my hand. I was like a bruise. You almost kind of looked like a bruise, and I was like, still quite not drunk at this point, but just quite like. I went, that's not right. What the hell's done that? And it was like, and the next day, I kind of like went home and kind of like I phoned my friend. I phoned Sarah back and said, "You got problems in this house?" And she's like, "Oh yeah. We've had some issues. One of the girls has had issues, and well, actually, we've all had issues. And this has happened, and that's happened, and she started relating all these tales and things that are like, there's a problem in one of the bedrooms upstairs, and all the activities up there, and things fall off of the dresser and slide off and disappear and stuff, and there's a problem in the cell." And I was like, "Why didn't you tell me?" About this. Why didn't you tell me? I was like, so anyway, I did go back, arranged to go back, got on the kit, went and looked at the place. I took a pendulum, I always take a pendulum. You can see where the spirit activities were, so where there's energy coming up and so on. And yeah, went around the whole house, did the whole house, because it was like, that was the only time I've ever been physically attacked or hurt. And it was like, I ain't having this. Not having this. So back to sort it out, it was the upstairs. There was just like a weird kind of vortex of energy. It was like a weird thing going on in this room. It felt like a portal or something. It felt like the energy came down. It was like, what on earth is causing this? I just go to like logical reasons and things and try and think. So I think in the pendulum's over it, and the pendulum's going all over the place like that. It's like, oh right, there's energy coming up somewhere. So I logically go downstairs, like, what's downstairs? Have you got a cellar? Yes, we've got a cellar. So down to the cellar, and the cellar had been, the floor had been re-concreted. It's been like concreted and flattened, and but going down into the bottom basement of the cellar, where the floor was, it was literally cracked up like a volcano, like a cracked, like a volcano or something. The whole floor had lifted up just around one point, one patch, and it was there. And I put the pendulum over it again, and it's like all over the swinging around all over the place. And it was just like literally, this was directly beneath the bedroom. I said, right, okay. You must have you got a stream nearby? Have you got something? Is it water? Oh yeah, there's a culvert stream runs right under the house because it was on a hill. It runs down the hill under here. I'm like, yeah, there you go. So it's all energy coming up, geopathic stress and attracting spirits in. So I had to then go and it was the stairs and the upstairs. I had to go in there and speak to whatever was there. It turned out to be, I mean, that part of Leeds is what we call terraced houses, so like big brick back-to-back houses built in long rows. You probably have something similar in like Boston or New York, but these are probably a bit smaller. But yeah, the rows and rows of terrace houses. And I've stood there, and they left me to it. Said, "Leave me to it. I'll see, and I'll call for whoever's stuck, whichever spirit's stuck here, to come and talk to me." And it came quite quickly, and it was a young Asian lady, Indian, Pakistani, Asian origin, and she'd come forward, and said, "Look, I'm caught here. I'd died. I'd been. I think she said she was pushed down the stairs by somebody, but it wasn't entirely clear. But she said I'd been pushed, and now I'm gone, and I'm not with you anymore." So I had to do what I had to do, X, Y, Z, and asked her to move on. And when you're doing that, you ask them to move on to the light and to go to be received. So it was done. It was dusted. I don't know what it was that actually attacked me personally. It could have been any other spirit that come in, but having done that, it seemed to close up the portal, and they didn't have any issues after that. So a lot of ghosts like that. A lot of the stories are quite unremarkable, but it's usually a sudden death or something that that starts it all.
That's really fascinating. You have a lot of stories. I have a lot of stories myself, but it seems that you have more sensitivity, a little bit. You have a little bit more openness to receiving those messages from them, and then also I've never actually gotten like a mark on me or anything like that with your hand. So that's something that's just unexplainable. I always like to try to look at science facts, but it's the stories that make me go, there's nothing else that it could have been.
Yeah, and of course, I'm a huge skeptic for anything. I mean, it's taken many years to get to this point where there's things that I can't remain skeptical about, which have affected me and I've seen with my own eyes and things. And when you just like all of a sudden you've got like a perfect black square appears, and then I mean it was literally like a black dark coloured bruise and a square, like somebody had got like a piece of wood, like a table leg, and gone bang, and it had right in the palm of your hand and bruised it, but it came up, but it didn't feel that badly bruised. It was just like really weird phenomena.
Right.
I know that can happen. So I was like, nobody does that to me. You don't get away with that. I was more mad at my friends for not telling me that they had issues in the first place.
Yeah, a warning would have been great.
Yeah. I think they just kind of like it was a foresight. They didn't realise, but all forgiven. So
do you still do mediumship work? Do you still kind of find the sensitivities when you're out there in public and everything sometimes?
Yeah, I do still do mediumship, but not. I only do trance mediumship these days, which is like channeling, trance, light trance, and I do trance for reading past lives and things as well. I don't do stage mediumship anymore. I kind of fell out of love with that from having to work in public a lot and do readings, and you'd get a certain type of person that always just would come for the mediumship or whatever, and they wanted you to seance and stuff. And it was like, well, no, you're dealing with grief, and you're expecting us as we're trying to provide like an entertainment or kind of reading and stuff, and a lot of them could get very uptight when they didn't hear what they wanted to hear or whatever. And I just didn't want to be. I know it's a big business, but I didn't want to be feeding that. I won't say I don't believe in it anymore, but I just don't do that type anymore unless it's really personal.
Okay.
But yeah, I'd still do it. What was the other part of the question? Sorry.
I was wondering if you still felt it in public, like if you ever went out. Sometimes I know mediums experience things when they're out in public.
Yeah, the thing is, generally not. There's a misconception about people that do this sort of work, and my sort of work is that you're constantly switched on. Like you're constantly receiving things from the universe and from here and there. No, you would fry your. Can I swear?
Oh yeah, sure. Andrea does.
You would fry your fucking brain out in no time. Within a day, you would be locked up in a straitjacket. If you just walked around all the time, open to everything, you would soon be taken away in a jacket with the straps around the back.
Yeah.
It just doesn't work that way, You have to be very conscious of switching it on when you need to use it and switching it off when you're done. Otherwise, you can leave yourself open to all kinds of problems.
That's really fascinating. I also didn't realize that you did history, or you have history of doing work with exorcisms. I would definitely love to hear maybe like a story or something about that if you'd like to share.
Yeah, well, exorcisms, the term applies to buildings and places. I don't not really in the business of doing people, as that's few and far between and very kind of rare. I have done people in the past who were kind of, people I knew personally that needed their help. But exorcisms actually refers to a place or a building or whatever, so as well as people. So you can exercise a place, but people, that's very rare to do people. I know you see it in movies a lot, and you see it in TV a lot. That it's like, oh yeah, like draw, then come out, Beelzebub. But that's exceptionally rare, and it's not quite what you see in the movies either.
Right. That's interesting.
It will specifically be somebody that has a deep trauma in their life, usually something that's followed them for a lot of years, possibly from childhood, either kind of something that's happened to them, and they've formed they've got some kind of spirit attachment to them, either because they have then developed further problems and used a lot of drugs or drink or whatever they're into, violence or whatever, and the spirits then attach themselves. So not only are they dealing with the trauma and the addiction, they're dealing with something that's piggybacking on them, that's jumped on the back to feed off their energy as well. So it's yeah, it gets pretty messy.
Yeah, that's interesting. I've never experienced anything like that before. I've done a lot of ghost hunting. I've received messages and stuff like that before, but also the tarot cards. That's also very interesting because I think I've mentioned to you before. Since I had my concussion and everything like that, I was very connected with my spirit guides, the spirit world, and everything like that. So ever since I did hit my head, it's been very easy to connect with them for my tarot readings.
Yes.
Yeah. Do you still do tarot readings to this day?
Yeah, they're up there. I do my own every day, and this week, oddly enough, I've been filming and recording or trying to get finished,
Oh,
like a course on Thoth Tarot, but it's taking ages because you've got like 78 cards in the deck, and I'm doing like 10 to 15 minutes for each one. So it's taken a while. I might have to cut some of it down, but it's not just a course. It's actually a treatise on what's going on today, 2021, and why this is relevant now. With all this stuff going on. So
Yeah.
but yeah, like I said before, I think if you do suffer some kind of like brain trauma or traumatic brain injury, it can quite easily shift you from your more logical brain into a different alpha beta brainwave state. It can shift you quite sometimes quite permanently to make you more open.
I know that you said you had the cards there. I'm not sure if you would be interested. Would you be interested in doing like a really quick reading on me? Okay. I'm excited. Yay!
Oh, hang on a minute. No, that's the wrong deck. Let me just think which ones I've got. All right, there's two more. I think. Yeah, that one. Do it. Excuse me. Yep. So I've got several decks as well, but yeah, I'll use it. That's the nearest one. That's
Okay, awesome.
the Thoth ones. That's the Italian deck. I've got a Spanish deck and two English ones, different sizes.
Oh.
I know. Yeah, so that's the Italian deck, which is the only one I've got to hand. So yeah, you've got the full deck there. Have you got a specific question in mind, or just something general, or
I guess just
for the deck?
I always ask my tarot cards, or my spirit guides, what's in the universe. I ask what's the number one message that I need to hear right now. That's what I always ask.
I have a lot of space on here. Just give them a shuffle. Right, so this is for Brittany. That's what's the number one thing they need to know right now. Let's see how they come out. Let's cut them again. Okay, so we've got first of all Warango, which is the 9 of discs.
Okay.
And then we have this one did get damaged. The Queen of Cups.
Okay.
Story. And then we've got the Empress, the Empress.
Okay.
So,
The Empress?
Yeah. So this is what's going on in your life right now. The 9 of discs, first of all, that's or pentacles or coins. That card is a representative of where you are now. So for your material life and what's going on around you, the world around you. So not just wealth and material possessions, but the things that you kind of want to plan that you're doing that are coming into manifestation now. This is a sign of very good, steady, upward progress. So it's like you're not going to be slipping back anytime soon. You're on a good course. So where you're going, you've planned right. You've done things right to this point, and you're starting to see the rewards in the world around you. That's excellent. The next card, Reina de Cope, is the Queen of Cups, who got damaged, unfortunately. This is why I don't use the Italian deck. I need to replace it. Got damaged in Blackpool. There's no kings in this deck. It's a very, on the court cards, it's queens, princesses, and knights, and princes. So the Queen of Cups is the strong, maternally, very psychic queen in the deck. She's the one that sees and feels things and senses. Perceptions are very deep. The card actually shows kind of like it's like a pool of water underneath. It's like all emotion underneath. And then this figure's kind of shrouded in here, but she's kind of gazing down into it, a bit like Galadriel in Lord of the Rings, where she's looking into the water to see the future and see things around. So this is in some senses, it represents like psychic mastery as well. For what you're going through is like learning to master your own intuition at this time, and also being confident enough to trust it too.
Okay.
Even in situations where you're really not sure, and being vulnerable enough to make a mistake, or to be open to making a mistake by trusting it. So that's a way, if you trust your intuition and you think, oh no, I've actually done the wrong thing, but to stick with it and see what happens after, rather than just making a snap judgment and going, oh, I made the wrong choice, I shouldn't have followed my intuition, which is what a lot of people do. And then for the near future, the Empress, card 3, she's chakra colours, pink and green. The pink is the higher heart, the yin, the feminine. The green is the masculine, the lower heart, the wisdom. And it is a very in-tuned card. You see she's got 2 moons, one either side of her. Mm-hmm. It represents not only femininity, but it's the kind of like the deepest archetypal image of the feminine in this tarot is the Empress, which is protective. It's all the positive feminine traits. So it's in touch with nature, in touch with rest of humanity. It's kind of sensing, it's deep empathy, and yeah, connection with the world around, and particularly the night time as well. So it's the Empress is a good one to readjust you to your feminine nature, and that's that card. That's the 4th card in the deck, card 3. So it's not far in on the journey. So yeah, it seems those 3 cards together are quite powerful for you. And although things are going well in the material world, it seems that in the other side of your work, you've got a lot of good things coming your way as well.
Thank you so much for that reading. It's definitely, it's very accurate. So thank you.
All right, you're welcome. I'll look back.
Would you like a reading, Josue?
Sure.
Yeah, okay, I'll do another shuffle. Oops. Right, let's do another quick shuffle. Righty-ho, so for you, Josue, so I'm squinting at that in the half dark. Sconfitte, which is the 5 of Swords, or in English, defeat. It's not as dark as it looks. Some of these are just kind of, you have to interpret them. Felicita, 9 of Cups, which is happiness. And then Opere, the 3 of Discs, or the works. So, right, from where you've come, or where you've come recently, Jose, the situation is that with this card, it's representing, this kind of represents a lot of what's going on at the moment, are things that we feel powerless to change ourselves, that might be happening in our view or in our purview, family, friends, close people around you, where you just simply, you've got to stand back and go, I can't do a damn thing. It can either lead you to feelings of kind of like powerlessness, that you can't act, there's nothing you can do in a situation. But it's called defeat for a reason, which is the Swords is like things in the mind and the intuition, and it's hard for you sometimes to have any effect on the situation, that's especially when things are out of your control. So it's perhaps maybe time for you to let some of that go as well. So you'll be moving on from that soon, and then to the next few days or so. Well, 9 of Cups, which is happiness. So you'll be restored quite soon to a situation where you and the people around you are much happier and much more fulfilled, and that's the primary importance for you. It kind of speaks for itself, that one. The cups are all about the emotions and things, so it's like shared emotion. So yes, it's happier days. And then the last card, Become the Future. The works, the 3 of Pentacles. So it's like a pyramidal shaped combination, 3 coins. This is about working closely together with other people, collaborations, collusions, projects and things. It's all about mucking in for the teamwork, and you're the best placed in the near future not to try and go solo or do things lone wolf on your own. Just make sure that you muck in, and you'll get to the end results. The more you all cooperate and get stuck in.
Wow, that's it's scary how on point like all those guards.
The tarot never lies. No, they don't. I've been using these for so long now that it's like it's bizarre. I kind of liken it to, you know, like in the Matrix, where you see the code in the Matrix coming down, and you see glitches and things, and it's like that. It's like, oh crikey. Sometimes you wish you could unsee things.
Yeah, thank you so much for giving me the reading as well as Josue.
Yeah, that was my first reading ever. So,
Oh,
yeah, so I mean, you know, that was intense, dude. I'm not even gonna lie.
We'll get Brittany to practice on you.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Thank you for that. One thing I'm actually curious about, and I'm not sure if you would want to or feel comfortable to, I would be curious if you would want to do like a quick little mediumship reading on me. If not, that's completely okay. It might take too much energy to do it. I'm not sure.
It's not so much about the energy. I know that the only one I'm being told about this from spirit that's with you is your grandmother on your mother's side is the one that's paying the closest attention to you.
What was that? I'm sorry?
Grandmother on mother's side is the one that's paying the closest attention to you from spirit.
My grandmother on my mother's side?
Yeah.
Really? Interesting.
That's all I can't, like I said, difficult doing it over Zoom really, but yeah, the spirit will say kind of who's with you. Normally we'll have two spirits that can change over time. They'll watch over us. For instance, I have my father's father, granddad, who he passed away when I was 6 weeks old, did Alfred. So I did meet him, but I don't remember it. And I have his mother on the other side, Clarissa. So, and she passed decades ago. So each of us would have like two that would take it in turns to come in and check up on us. But it can change throughout your life.
Oh, that's very interesting.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. Do you feel anything on Josue or?
There's two gentlemen with him. They look very similar. They could have been brothers or similar age. They look quite strong, and that all I could see is they had quite a lot to put up with in their lifetimes, and they would have spent a lot of it fighting.
Oh wow!
Various things. So yeah, they weren't frightened of the fight, but they stood very close together anyway, and they're both with you. So it's not always a lady and a gentleman you have with you. Sometimes it can be two men or two ladies, but often it's for balance. It's one of each, but not always. You know.
It's very interesting because when I've seen mediums before, and I guess I'll just tell you really quick. I've seen like 3 psychics, and they've always told me I have I have someone from my past life who's following me. We were lovers in the past life, but it ended too early, and I decided to come into this life again, and he decided to not. So about 3 psychics told me that, and I'm always like, I think about it because a lot of them have said, oh, it feels like something's missing in your life, but it's just because of that. And I was like, oh, interesting.
Well, yeah, I mean, if we're going to get into reincarnationism, that's a whole other topic. Yeah, blimey. But yeah, you're going to get that. Well, you're not always going to incarnate at the same time as everybody that you should do. You know, not everything is kind of perfectly planned out. Accidents can happen, plans can change, things can go wrong. Souls that are meant to come in can end up not coming in, or coming in and leaving very quickly, and so on and so on. You know, again, there's all kinds of stories and about that type of thing. You know, you hear more stories from the East, from India and places like that, because they're much more open to this and they talk about it openly. But in the West, it's kind of not, it's kind of frowned on, and children that are talking about things from past lives are usually told to be quiet, or to, oh, it's just, they've just got an imaginary friend, or, you know, it's quiet. So they're just kind of, it's just, you know, oh, just stop them talking about it. So, but yeah, it can be, you know, that maybe that person won't join you in this lifetime, or they may come a lot later, further on down the line.
That's very, very interesting.
You know, you used to say that, you know, somebody that was your husband or your wife or your brother or whatever in a past life, just because you were married or whatever in that life, doesn't mean to say they're not going to come back as your son or your daughter in this life, or your granddaughter or whatever, you know. They still make an appearance.
That gave me chills, actually, because in my yoga training, they discussed a lot about reincarnation. They're firm believers in reincarnation in the yoga world, karma, reincarnation. And they talked a lot about how, like, usually you have the same kind of souls in your life. They just, you guys switch roles. So maybe the mom comes as the daughter this time, maybe the mom comes as a son this time, or the brother, you know. Yeah. But usually the same souls kind of group together in the lives.
Absolutely, yeah. And age and time is just an illusion, really, in that sense. And it's like, yeah, I mean, I know, yeah, from this lifetime, I mean, I know, yeah, so many examples of who I know now and what we were in other previous lifetimes. Like, you know, my mother and father in this lifetime, we were all brothers and sisters in the previous life, and so on and so on. And yeah, you take turns swapping round. Oh, who's going to play father? I'll play father. You be son this time. You know. So the great cosmic computer just spits out, you know, a different situation, a different life, a different era, different culture, different country. Oh, we'll put you in here now, and you know, you can all go in. And they reckon you have about 40 souls in each group, at least. So.
Oh wow, I didn't know that. Interesting.
Yeah, approximately 40. So I just liken it, when I explain it to people, I liken it to like a group of actors. Yeah, so like if you have a theatre company and they've got like 40 actors, one week they might be doing one play, and you know, maybe only 25 of those actors will take part in it. They won't all be on stage at the same time. One actor might get killed off in the first act, and you don't see him again. But another one doesn't come on right up to the end of the third act, or fourth act, and so on. And so it's just like that. And then the next week they do a different play, and it rotates round, and everybody gets a chance, but it just keeps changing.
That's absolutely fascinating. How did you learn all of this? Like,
Mostly just taught myself as a result of what happened to me throughout my life. I started meditating aged 8 years old.
oh wow.
Yeah, and I'm still going now. But when I got to teenage years, I was kind of unhappy with what people was telling me the world around me was, and what everything was supposed to be, and how it all worked. I was like, this is bullshit. I'm going to find out for myself and see what's going on. So I just started like scratching in the one corner, you know, scratching away, and then, oh, hang on a minute. And I think by the time I was about 17 or 18, I was actually looking for past life regressions with a hypnotherapist to start with when I was in my teens. And I found one guy, which is in my home city, and he said, oh, I don't really do that kind of thing, but come along and see me anyway. And his name was David as well. And he's older than me, but I went along and I sat talking to him, and he's like, so why do you want to look at your past lives? And that's like, well, I need to know. So I sat talking to him, and then he said, well, you've got potential in other areas, you know. And I was like, what do you mean? So he started talking to me about kind of metaphysics and stuff, and all kinds of stuff I'd never read about or heard about. And he did do me a little tape for something else. I can't remember what it was, some affirmation tape or something. When I left, he's like, right, I want you to take this book with you, and come back and see me in like a couple of weeks and read the book, and then bring it back with you, and then we'll go from there. So I ended up in this kind of, it was like a private kind of backstreet esoteric mystery school, which nobody knew existed, and I would go along and then be meeting these people, and anyway, I went through that for a couple of years, and it kind of that was a story in itself. But then I did find another hypnotherapist after that, because I was like, yeah, I really do want to find past lives now, and then I started doing those, and that opened my third eye open quite quickly. I went away to do the research through the libraries and look for the census records and things for the actual hard facts and information. But at this time, I was starting to get psychically opened. And so from there on, I was still doing my normal job, 9 to 5 job, whatever you call it. And it just opened from there. And I had the lady that did the hypnotherapy for me became my friend and mentor, and you know, still friends today. You know, nearly 30 years later. So it just came about, and I was like, I didn't want this. I didn't ask for it. I didn't have it as a child or a teenager, but in the 20s, it just came along, and then I found that I ended up having to use it. So. So.
That's really interesting. You definitely have a lot of stories. I'm assuming you have a lot more than just what was shared today.
Yeah, I've got a few. I'm surprised how many actually. There's just literally could go on all day and all night. But I won't. But yeah, if it comes to this kind of thing, and you ask me to talk about this type of thing, then beware, because I will talk all day and night with people, you know, constantly.
That's amazing. Yeah, I love these kind of topics. So,
Yeah.
with the dark shadow, the square, that exorcisms, mediumship, tarot cards, you definitely have a lot of fascinating stories.
Yeah, I think I lead a fairly boring life these days, but you know, when I sit down and think about it for a minute, I think, no, it's not really. Actually, it's too freaking weird. But you know, to me, it seems that this kind of stuff kind of seems like every day now. It's kind of like, oh yeah, this happened, that happened. I was like, yeah, it's all right. I can explain it away. I can. So yeah, for other people, like, oh, what did you do? I'm like, well, yeah, did this, and this. I'm just saying, I had a friend phone me tonight, an old neighbour, and he asked me about an exorcism that was meant to do recently. I ended up going to the place, and it didn't need exercising.
Oh wow!
So I was like, kind of disappointed and relieved at the same time, because I didn't like doing them. But it turned out to be a practical thing. So it was like an old barn converted house and a valley, but it had like 2 wells and like streams running under the front of the house, and they had those big electric pylons as well. So when I got there, I was like, yeah, you've got flowing water, blocked water running under the front door. You've got great big flipping electric pylons as well, you know, and you've got geopathic stress, you've got you know, kind of sick house issues and stuff. So I went round, and there's just where the energy was coming through. You know, the spirits were just being attracted to that. So there's nothing bad there. So yeah, you know, it's you have to look at things from a more scientific perspective sometimes.
Right.
There was no need to do the exorcism. So.
That's very interesting. I would definitely love to maybe do another episode with you, but next time I think with Andrea, if you would do, because I'm sure you have a lot of a lot of stories. And I definitely think that she would be more than excited to hear your stories because she would have loved hearing these stories. But yeah, so I would definitely, if you're willing to, I would love to do some more episodes with you to hear some more stories.
Yeah, no, that'd be great. I'd enjoy that. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, of course. Well, that's like normally we do like an hour or so. If did you have any other last stories that you would like to share? Because I would definitely love to have
Uh,
Andrea
I'll
join.
give, I'll give you another real life ghost story.
Sure.
I don't know how much you know about Edinburgh, but it's quite a distinctive place. And Edinburgh, Scotland.
Edinburgh. Okay. I've heard
If
a lot about Scotland. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a big old castle there, and it's like on a site of a dormant volcano. It's a really striking place. It's near the coast, but it's like the ancient capital of Scotland. Um, and I remember going once, again similar 20 noughties it must have been as well, and staying in a place I think it's called near Colton Hill, and I think the place is still there. The hotel is like the Glass House, which is like quite a nice hotel, and quite a bit built in an old building, that's been converted. I don't know how old it was. I can't remember. But I remember going and booking it specifically because it's like, yeah, it's bound to be really, really, really haunted. And yeah, this was a 3 in the morning one, and
Oh gosh.
yeah, it was a big room, and it was like a big room, but it was like on kind of like a split level as well because of the way the building was. It had to do it on like a split level and so on. And I remember being woken up about 3 a.m. or something. It must have been about 3 a.m. and just seeing that this kind of luminescent dark green figure just kind of walking through the bed, literally out to the other side, like past through the TV and up onto the thing and across, and I was like, okay, yeah, it's haunted, and it was just like thinking, and it was stood there for a minute, and I was like looking up at it, and I was like, all right, I don't want to wake anybody up. I'll just let it go. And it was this really strange sensation because it literally walked almost straight through past as well. And it's like, oh, I can go back to sleep now. But it literally almost lit up part of the room. It was literally glowing like a dark luminescent green. Whatever it was or whoever it was, it looked like a male figure. But I did ask the hotel, casually tried to ask the hotel staff about it the next day, and yeah, they kind of like, oh,
Oh.
don't talk about that.
Right away.
Oh, they wondered why I got a discount on the room.
I was gonna say that too. It's like, yeah, that close to discount.
Yeah, we don't talk about that.
Yes.
Yeah.
We don't talk about that. I'm like, fair, I don't blame you. You won't have any guests left. So yeah, it wasn't harmful. It was just something replaying, whatever it was. But it looked really old though, really old. Like an old thing replaying over and over again. So yeah, whatever. Who knows?
That's fascinating. I love it.
Like a baby after that as well. I was like straight back to sleep.
I would not be able to go straight back to sleep.
Wonderful.
Yeah, Edinburgh. We go to Edinburgh quite often, and a friend of mine has a company. I'll give him a plug on here. It's Haunted Nights, which is a UK company, and they do ghost walks and they do ghost hunts as well, particularly in Edinburgh. and those are amazing. You know, not just because it's one of the really spookiest places. It's where they filmed like, you know, parts of the Harry Potter movies and so on. So it's that kind of graveyard spooky
Oh.
too. So yeah, if you're on Facebook, look up Haunted Nights, and you check them out.
That's
They do live streams and things as well. So they do like Pendle Hill, the witch, you know, the witch trials in Lancaster and so on. So all that lovely old English history, you know, where we've got all the witch stories and things as well.
That's amazing. Yeah, well, when I go over there, I'm definitely gonna. I'll definitely go.
Yeah, there's plenty of ghost hunts in had over here, even now. They're doing them again now. So it's like, yeah, no problem.
That's fantastic. Well, thank you so much for everything. Your stories were super entertaining and super fun.
Yeah, no, it's been fun to do. Yeah, thanks for inviting me.
Yeah. I will message you with some more information about maybe doing another episode next week, and then this time with Andrea.
Yeah, I look forward to it. Yeah. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you so much, David, for your time, and thank you for sharing. I appreciate it.
Thank you, David.
Oh, nice to meet you.
Thank you. Nice to meet you.
Well, enjoy the rest of your night. Hopefully you can sleep well since it's.
I will tonight. Yeah.
Good. Good. Alrighty. We'll have a good Saturday.
You too.
All right. Thanks, David. I'll talk to you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye.